Hi folks, Chris Voss here from the Chris Voss Show.com, the Chris Voss Show.com. Kind of blog post we want to share, of course, with you the latest in social media and technologies. These are two phones that come from our wonderful company, AT&T. Thanks to AT&T.com for sending us the phones so we can take and review them. What we're doing is we're going to do a versus comparison with the HTC One from AT&T and the AT&T Nokia Lumia 920. Now, these are very different phones. They were released in different time spans, and there's going to be a huge difference of them, not only in terms of the OS nature. One is a Android device, one is a Windows device, but also what we're really interested to see is how good the cameras are. Both devices are designed and promoted as low-light cameras that do very well. And the camera on the Nokia Lumia 920 is a very good camera. So we're going to be able to compare these two and see which one wins. Now the camera on the HTC One has what's called ultra pixels. It has a 4 megapixel camera as opposed to the Lumia 920's 8 megapixel camera, but it has these ultra pixels, which are the pixels being bigger. So we'll see which one works. The HTC One does shoot good in low light, as does the Nokia Lumia 920. So we'll take a walk down, we'll get a comparison between these two, and we'll let you decide who's the winner in the end. Both are very well-built, solid phones, designed very beautifully, and they have wonderful screens on each of them. As you can see, they're very large. There's a bit of a difference. These are the new 1080p screens with the HTC One, where with the Nokia, you don't have the 1080p screen. So let's break down the statistics first. We'll take a look at sizes, shapes, and everything else. With the HTC One, you're looking at, it'll run on Android 4.1.2 and the Sense 5.0 UI, which comes from HTC. It's got a height of 5.41 inches, 2.69 in width, and 0.37 inches in thickness. It's got a 5.04 ounce weight to it. Now, comparatively, on the Lumia 920, you're looking at a weight of 6.53 ounces, a little bit heavier, 5.12 in height, 2.79 in width, and 0.42 in thickness, a little thicker than the HTC One. And this is running on Windows OS system, and we'll get you some more details on which exact of the Windows. It's on Windows 8, but I believe it's on 8.01. We'll check here in a second when we get to the end of this. So on the HTC One, you're looking at a display of 4.7 inches on it. The resolution, like I mentioned, is 1080p. The pixels per inch are 468 ppi. Pretty awesome. It's a SLCD3 capacitive multi-touch screen. Very beautiful screen, very easy on the eyes to look at. Let me tell you, it's gorgeous. And it's great to watch film and video on them. Now, the Lumia 920 does a really good job too with its screen. It does have a very beautiful screen. I have to give that to you. On the screen, you're looking at an LCD color TFT screen. It has a resolution of 768 by 1280 pixels. Has a 4.5 diagonal screen and 16.7 million colors, 24-bit with pure motion IPS. It comes out of the box with Windows 8, but we'll see what's on here. I think there's a small upgrade that we have. On the processors for the HTC One, you're looking at a Qualcomm Snapdragon 600 quad-core processor, very fast, 1.7 gigahertz, Cryo 300, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of built-in storage. Comparatively, for the Nokia Lumia 920, you're looking at a processor of 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 dual-core, instead of quad-core like the HTC One, and 32 gigabytes of internal memory and 1 gigabyte of RAM. So there's where you kind of see some of the difference there. They both have NFC chip technology in them, which is always good. In the camera, like we mentioned, there's 4 megapixels with the HTC One. It has front and rear facing 1080p camera at 30 frames per second with a front facing camera of 2.1 megapixels. On the Nokia Lumia 920, you're looking at 8 megapixels out the back in the camera, and out the front Let's see if we can find that data. Is a 1.2 megapixel camera, and it's got 1080p HD out the back, so that you can take and do that. Both are really good phones. I've enjoyed playing with both of them in their own right. They definitely have some real differences in how they operate and what they do, and of course we'll get to see some of that. Now the HTC comes with a system that you can put in your Facebook, your Twitter, and other accounts, I believe LinkedIn or YouTube. You can put these in, and you can see it's got this thing that downloads them onto your screen, and you can flip through them. Of course, you can flip to the left or from the left to the right and get into the normal menus that you're used to with the Android system. It has an infinite swipe to it, and of course you can go into your app settings and be able to access your apps and all that good stuff. Many people like the Android product because it's very customizable. You can create different widgets, you can create different themes and everything else. You can have live wallpaper in the background. A lot of customization you can do with the device that you can't quite do with the kind of set in stone Nokia. We'll get into that in a second. So you can see how it's set up. It has a drop down notification menu where you can easily get into notifications that may be coming your way. You can easily get into your settings. You can see here the settings menu for making changes to the settings. Both devices, of course, have notifications on them. With the HTC One, you're looking at a speaker that is front-facing, which is really unique. Now, this isn't just for phone calls like you would have on the Nokia. This is a front-facing speaker system, and so the whole speakers are facing out to you, especially in stereo. So when you're playing a game in this mode, it's really awesome where both speakers hit you with sound, or when you're watching a movie. It's a very cool experience. In fact, I'm not sure why more mobile phone makers don't do it more often, but who am I to say? I'm not the guy who is in charge of the business. Now, on the Nokia, you can see we have this Metro-style live tile where that they like to call it at Microsoft. You can have these tiles that are flipping out over, rotating, processing different images and stuff. You can click on them, see what's going on. You can, of course, make a swipe and look down through your apps that are on a giant list that goes up and down. I'm not a big fan of it. I kind of like the grid part you can have with the HTC One, but everyone's different, and it definitely looks nice, as you can see. It's got a beautiful screen on it. You've got a speaker up top for making calls from facing cameras you do here on the HTC One. On the bottom, with the HTC One, you have a home button and a back button, much similar on the Lumia 920. You have a home button, a back button, and a search button, so you can take and do that. Now, notifications come to you on the notifications menu. They pop up as they come in. If you've got a live tile, they can take and bring in those notifications for you. Here you can see the settings menu. Not quite as pretty and interesting as the settings menu is with the HTC One. Kind of just plain Jane, if you will. Now, the one thing that people talk about, but the difference between the Android and the Windows product that's very huge, is the Android product has a ton of apps that go into it. So a ton of apps have been made to it. Now Windows is trying to catch up and get those apps developed. So, and they do have some of the major apps that have come into the phone. Let's see if we can get to the home area for Google Play. Okay, you can kind of see they've done some redevelopment of this too. Now, for the Microsoft Lumia, their store looks a little bit different. They have these big letters always across the top. You can see they have some interesting stuff that you could page through, see what's featured, different collections. Much a little bit different than what you have with the Android. You do tend to pay for stuff a whole lot more with the Windows Nokia. That's the one thing I've found. A lot of apps you can still get for free on Android or even the iPhone. With the Nokia, you do have to pay. So there's that. I mean, it's kind of something you want to definitely research when you decide between both these phones as to which one will work best for you. Now let's take a look at the top of the devices. On the top of the devices, you can see a very solid build. Now the Nokia is what's called a unibody or a one body. It's made so it's not going to have antenna type programs. But the other thing is too is if you scratch this, it will stay this color cayenne. or cyan, cayenne, however you want to pronounce it. It's this color throughout the whole body. So it eliminates like Antanagate that Apple ran into, where it's a unibody that doesn't interfere with your signal, and it also makes it incredibly durable and very strong. You can see across the top here, the HTC One, we've got your power button, which also actually serves as an IR blaster. It will take and control the infrared on your TV, your air conditioner, whatever you got that's doable through the infrared, your stereo, all that good stuff. Away you go. Very interesting the way they set this up. And it may be that the LG is where the air conditioner works in the LG Optimus G. So if I'm getting that wrong, well, there you go. So you've got your earphone jack up here. The one interesting thing I've always found with the Nokia Lumia 920 is it's got your SIM card at the top, a little bit of a microphone there, but it's got the earphone right in the center of the earphone jack. I think that's pretty smart when it comes down to it, because that way, whether you're left or right-handed, the thing's likely going to be less in your way than it normally would. Across the bottom here, you can see that we've got a microphone hole in the HTC One, your sync charge port. On the Nokia, we have a speaker on the bottom and your sync charge port. Down the left-hand side of the devices, we just have a SIM card tray for the HTC One, pretty much a unibody on the Nokia. On the right-hand side, we have a really good-looking up and down button toggle for the volume, and then we have your on the Nokia, we have the volume up and down toggle. We have a power button on and off here, and this is actually shutter button for the camera. Very interesting. So you can kind of see the differences in the devices from their respective angles. Now let's take a look at the back of these devices and see how they take and match up. Now the HTC, of course, has kind of this aluminum body. It gets cold and warm depending upon how fast it's going. Being at a 1080p and a fast processor, it does get warm if you use it on a consistent basis. So you've got your lamp flash here, which is a very good lamp, and you've got your camera eye, of course, here. It does come with Beats audio, and Beats audio is pretty nice, especially if you own the Beats audio line of headphones. This can give you a definitely much better reward in terms of great sound, and I enjoy them. Small microphone that's front facing here, and I think that's really smart. You see most of the phone companies doing that nowadays, because this can record sound that's facing you that you're recording on your video camera. On the Nokia Lumia 920, you're looking at a lamp flash area, and then a Carl Zeiss optical camera in the device. And it does a really good job. So you can see it's all a nice one-piece unibody. It doesn't even seem like there's hardly any parts to it, which is really crazy. So it's really up to you to decide which one you like best and what's going to work for you. One of the challenges you have is there's not as many apps on the Windows phone in the Windows Store, but they are catching up, and things are slowly coming together with people and developers and companies making apps for them. Both have really, really beautiful screens, as you can see, but obviously the HTC One at 1080p can definitely be a difference maker when it comes down to that. And you can easily work your way around the Nokia Lumia by working the Metro tiles and everything else, or getting into the app system here on the right and going through them just as you could over here. So very interesting, and I think we've kind of covered most of the stuff you can do with both devices. Let's do this. Let's talk about the cameras. Okay, so let's take a look at both these cameras. These are some photos that we've taken, and as you can see here, it kind of looks like there's more colorization in the HTC One. One of the tricks to the Nokia Lumia 920 that works really well for it. It has, even if you're not using a flash, it will use a flash in low light to be able to find its focus source and be able to get you a better picture. So it basically will flash a flash ahead of time, even though the flash won't show up in your picture. It just helps the camera focus in low light and dark light conditions, which is pretty smart when it really comes down to it. The HTC, you can see here, a little bit different in colors between the two, but one issue you have is when you take these and you blow these babies up, there's only so big you can get because of the number of pixels that are in the 4 megapixel camera that you have with the HTC One. Whereas with the 8 megapixel camera you have in the Nokia Lumia, you have the ability to blow it up much larger because you have more pixels to work with. Now, as you can see here, we've got kind of a difference in the quality of these pictures. Let's take a look at more of these and see what the difference is. Here's a really close-up kind of macro shot, if you will. You can see some difference in the colors and how they present themselves, but you can also notice, if you can see this really close up here, the lemon on the Lumia 920 is much more detailed. I can see the dots, the individual aspects of it, and everything else, where I can kind of see a little bit of the dots on the HTC One, not really that great. Now there are some ways we can adjust this color by going in and setting some of the ISO standards and different things to the Nokia if you prefer a color that's maybe looking like this, or you can do some post-edit work. So it's really up to you and how you want things to look. Keep in mind this is a 1080p screen, comparatively this is much less. So let's take a look at some other things. Here's a colorized picture. You can see now that the color is much more vibrant in the Lumia 920, and in the HTC One the color is okay, just not quite as dark and pretty. I think it's much more vibrant on the Lumia. Here's a completely dark shot. This is shot in utter darkness, and it basically tests how well the device can flash and use its lamp to light up an object, and how bright it of course is when it does it. You can see here the HTC One isn't quite as good with this lamp flash, and we're not getting a whole lot of pickup on the same sort of detail that the Lumia took and picked up. You can see it's got a very rich, broad hit of flash, where the HTC seems a little bit more languid. Definitely, I think the Lumia does a much better job here. Let's take a look. This is once again a completely dark situation where we're using the lamp on both these devices, and you can kind of decide which works best for you here. In my mind, from what I'm seeing, the Lumia again wins with a much brighter, much more detail it's picking up, and better colors in the lamp for video. So in my mind, I really believe the Lumia is a better camera. I've been working with it for a long time. It's one of the things that really sticks out on the Lumia as being a great camera, and the system that it has on it for low light and everything else. I have a lot of friends that love the Lumia, and they stick by it. And it's an 8 megapixel camera, so you do have that sort of slight advantage over the HTC One megapixels. So let's take a look at both these cameras in how they operate. Now, there's a whole lot of control you can take and do on both these. With the HTC One, there's a feature called Zoe that you can take and utilize to compile several different pictures together and make them work to kind of like build storylines, things of that nature. It's okay. I'm not real excited by it. You've got some of the basic things you can do. Panorama, you can crop your video quality, ISO, white balance, continuous shooting, different camera options. You got your video, your zoom, all that sort of good stuff. The same thing pretty much you can find over here on your Lumia Nokia 920. You can see we've got, you got photo settings you can do. You can adjust white balance, aspect ratios. A little bit probably less on the features, but still it's got enough to get you going on with what you need to take and do. You can adjust, you can see here 720 or 1080p. So a little less features on the Lumia 920, but I think it still does a great job otherwise, as you've seen in how it shoots. Okay, so all in all, I do like both phones. Both have their own different strengths, and for me sometimes it's kind of nice to play with something different and have a different experience. The Windows Phone is definitely something where if you're not really into apps, you can definitely enjoy the Nokia Lumia. It's a great phone. I know people that really, really love the phone and are very endeared to it, and they just like the setup and operation of it. I know people that also prefer the Android product in the HTC One. So it's really up to you as to what works best for you, and of course, maybe what phones are available on your carrier. So be sure to check both of them out. Go to AT&T.com, and both these phones are available at AT&T.com. Tell them our good friends over there that we sent you. Give them a thumbs up. Say Chris Voss said thumbs up and said to tell us we sent you. Give us a like on this video and subscribe so we can bring you further videos of all the mobile phones that are out there. We have all the major carriers sending us phones now, so be sure to tune in as we compare all these phones with all the major carriers and major new phones coming out there. Thanks for coming by the ChrisVossShow.com. Be sure to check back in often.